What's going on, gamers? Here we are back with some more Outriders, and today I'm going to be going over the full build guide for this fella right here, an acari pyromancer who can't. He looks like he's a little bit under-geared, let's face it. But if you've been looking at the community posts, if you are subscribed, you probably know it's because today is the day when we try to put a run together and try to put a build together of someone who cannot actually find, for love nor money, the deathshield and the acari chest piece. So if you're struggling to find those two pieces but you'd still like a really nice acari build, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox. Then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? I'll bring you all the latest and greatest in hints, tips, guides, builds, and just fun gameplay for all the latest and greatest games, including a lot of Outriders. But for today, you're here to see the full build guide for this fella right here, the acari pyromancer, who unfortunately is still trying to gear up. If you're trying to get that chest piece, if you're trying to get that death shield drop, then you'll know that it can be a bit of a struggle and you can still fall over and you can still make it so that you can't clear content quite as well as you should do. Now with this fella, I've actually found that he works really well, and there's still a few things that you can tweak or adapt to your liking. What I'm going to do is chuck on a little bit of footage and you can decide if this is the kind of build that you're after.
Looks like the Pharaohs built a camp in Ramdas. Secured it.
Right, so hopefully from that you've decided by now if you enjoyed it, then you're going to stay tuned, and if you hated it, then you're probably not listening to this because you've already jogged on. But here is what he entails and what we've got on. So first up, and I actually have fallen in love a little bit with this gun. I haven't used this gun since the, I was going to say demo, but I didn't have it in the demo. Just shortly after the demo, I got this. It's really good low level. It's not as good as you start gearing up. When you get to end game, you realise that this gun isn't quite as good, or the mod isn't quite as good as you at first thought it was. However, in this build, because you're kind of debuffing them so much, it works really well. So strong for single target, so much fun, and it's got obviously that mod underneath as well. So the Thunderbird, it has crit damage, status power and close range damage. We are not using it for any of that, we are literally using it to apply the mods. Ultimate Storm Whip, shots bring down lightning on an enemy, dealing 74,309 damage. The reason this is so good, like I said, because we're kind of buffing ourselves or debuffing them, it means you're going to hit harder, and it's on a 1 second cooldown, meaning very rapid applies to that mod, meaning a lot of extra damage. And just underneath, just hands down, I've said it before, probably my favourite mod for just easy to use damage and area effect is Shadow Comet. Shots cool down a comet, dealing 210,003 damage to enemies within a 3.5 meter radius, with a 3 second cooldown. Like I've probably said in a few other videos, just easy area damage, fun, easy to apply, just shoot at whatever you want to disintegrate and they will fall over, because it does such a lot of damage, especially when you've debuffed them and such. Now I've chucked this in my secondary slot. Honestly, I didn't really use it for this build, but it was the one I was going to put on in place when I was doing something else. Really nice to use. If you wanted to, you could use it instead, but honestly that top one has been kind of working in my favour a little bit more. If you want to use this, it's the Reaper, it's got Shadow Comet and Death Chains, which entangles enemies, dealing 193,849 damage over 3 seconds. Still a really good gun for this build. Pretty much use this Thunderbird, don't worry too much about the secondary. Thirdly, and again if you wanted to, I didn't use this in my build run at all, but you would clear faster if you wanted to, and that's any revolver with kind of low shot so you can clear it at the start with Moaning Winds on. I've showed in a few guides how to do this, so I won't show again, but I have got guides up if you want to know how to do it. But literally all you gotta do, clear your ammo at the start, change off it before it reloads properly, and then whenever you want to, just switch back to this, bang, big area effect, clears mobs easy, switch straight off it back to your main and you're good to go, and you can do it whenever you want as long as there's an 8 second gap. Just over here, and we've gone kind of off spec of our normal, which is always acari head, chest and the lower. This time, like I said, this is for people that have been a little bit unlucky with RNG and they've had to kind of improvise. So today we're going to be using the head, just down here the lower armour, and finally the boots of the acari. Now you almost definitely know, but if you don't, the 3-piece, I'll just get out of the way now, when you hit people within your heat waves, it means you're going to be getting 50% extra anomaly power. It's really good, really overpowered and really fun if you want a lot of damage. Just apply your heat waves to as many adds as possible and capture all of the big elites and you will nuke everything. So for the head, it's got anomaly power, skills life leech and status power. We've gone with fire tsunami. This one you're probably going to keep it on 99% of every build. It means that you've got a heat wave, increases the width of the firewall. You've got a bigger firewall, you capture more enemies, more things are on fire, you get better regen, better tick damage, everything. Keep it on pretty much all of your acari builds and you're pretty much golden. And just down the bottom, ride the wave. Heat wave. The skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. It will become perfectly obvious like while we've got that, you're going to have a lot more than one because you want to have 3 in this, meaning you'll get a lot of extra damage. Now just here, and I've got the upper armor, but I did not get the rolls I wanted, so you'll be able to get a lot better than myself. This one's got anomaly power, and I think probably best by a mile would be to get a little bit more cooldown. If you wanted to get skills life leech, that would also be perfect. For me, anomaly power, cooldown, skills life leech would definitely best in slot. The mods on this is tidal wave, heat wave, the skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. That's going to give us 3 applications of heat wave, meaning we get an absolute bundle of anomaly power, which we're really lacking a little bit in, and it also means they're all going to be on fire, giving us a lot of tick damage, a lot of regen, and of course we're going to have another mod later that means we're going to get a lot of damage from applying those waves to enemies. Just down the bottom we've got branded thermal bomb. Enemies affected by the skill receive 40% more damage. Now if you haven't used this in any of your builds, trust me, you should. If you can get 2 of them, which we can't unfortunately in this one unless you swap some around, if you can, you'll get 80% extra damage. We're just going with 1 application, meaning we've got 40%. But again, that's going to be on top of our heat waves. Really good, really nice single target damage. Just down here, and we've got the waistcloth of the acari. Anomaly power, skills life leech and cooldown reduction. Really good, pretty much perfect for what we're after. It comes with anomaly echo, which we cannot unfortunately change because we've had to change the bottom one, but that gives us, at least it gives us a little bit of extra anomaly power. So 11,408 anomaly power and a little bit of firepower, which pretty much helps us with nada, but the anomaly power will be there and will be pretty much constant. So burnt at heatwave, damaged enemies take 25% more damage for 8 seconds. I can honestly say, after doing 100 million builds, pretty much this will be in 99% of every Acari build, no matter what you're using, just for the sheer fact that you have to have heatwave. If you're going for over 1 heatwave, you will almost definitely need to take this because it's just too much damage to kind of miss out on. Now, damaged enemies takes 25% damage for 8 seconds. You're going to be applying 3 of those. Also, you've got the 40% extra from the thermal bomb. So pretty much you've got 115% extra damage on that target that you've applied the bomb to, and of course everyone else will be taking the 75% damage. Of course, if you can make that fella explode as well, they will be taking all of that big air effect, meaning that everything absolutely disintegrates. It's a really fun thing to do, and try and focus on the person that you've applied that bomb to. Now, just down here, and we've got anomaly power, cooldown reduction and status power. For myself, if I could get skills life leech, I would get that. I think probably best in slot will be anomaly, cooldown and skills life leech for everything you can get. Now right here we've got untamed power. Using skills deals 35,783 damage to enemies within a 5 meter radius around you. The damage is equal to 30% of your anomaly power. So basically it just means as long as you're in target's faces, as long as you're kind of hitting everything with heat waves, that will go up massively, meaning you'll do a lot more damage in a radius and absolutely disintegrate people. Just down from there, and we've got bullet kindling. Deals 20% more damage against enemies afflicted by burn. They're all going to be on fire. You're going to want to make sure that they are, and when they are, you'll be disintegrating them with all of your moves because you're going to be hitting them with all of those heat waves constantly. Really good, really nice, and works hand in hand with pretty much everything we've got on. And just down here finally we've got the boots of the Acari. Now honestly, a lot of people don't like these. I find that they're actually quite good. I enjoy having the extra cooldown, it works really well. Obviously they are max health, but we're using a bit of a tanky build anyway, so it kind of goes hand in hand with that, and what we lose in damage, we're going to kind of make up for it by just having that little bit of health regen. So max health, skills life leech and cooldown reduction. The mod that I've put in is twice as hot. Whenever a skill is used, inflict an extra 39,901 damage to all enemies afflicted with burn. Now you might think that's low, but everything is on fire, meaning you're constantly applying that. If you punch stuff, because it's a skill, it means they're going to take that damage. If they're on fire, if you're using all of your heat waves over and over again, guess what? Every single time they're going to be taking that damage because they're all on fire. And of course that untamed power just up here, because you're using that will hit them with that as well. When you're close range with people, they absolutely disintegrate. Even though we haven't got quite as much anomaly because we're missing that chest piece, it's kind of made up by having these two mods. But even if you didn't have them both on, you would still tear things apart, just from the sheer fact that all of these mods work together so well. Now finally we've got down the bottom, and again it's one that I couldn't change off, that's Hellfire. Heatwave. If the skill damages 3 enemies, all subsequent enemies will receive an additional 30,000 damage, pretty much anyway. Honestly, it's not the best thing in the world, but it is still constant damage, because the main thing you're going to be using in this will be those heat waves. You're going to be spamming heat waves whenever you can in people's faces and absolutely disintegrating the smaller enemies, smash into pieces the elites, and only kind of making sure that you back away a little bit if you're on the bosses that you think might be able to knock you about. Now this one, I must admit, if you'll notice, this is probably the first time that I've not put on damage absorber. If you were getting beat up, if you were struggling for health, because we've got so much health now because of these as well, we're hitting like 28.2k health. So I managed to do some runs and I was pretty cushy without it. But go with your playstyle. Because you're in people's faces, if you're struggling or if you're dying, take off one of the mods. Probably either twice as hot or untamed power, depending on your playstyle. It is completely up to you. See which you feel you could kind of take off. Take off one of those and put on kind of your defensive mod. For myself, I would always say damage absorber, just because it's constant and it's nice and easy. The armor we've got up there, that's only our base armor. If I show you what we're normally on, so we're always using this. So it does jump up to around about 93, but we have got a couple of low bits. You could quite easily get that to roughly about 100 just from getting better armor in these slots. But like I said, if you find yourself dying, if you're struggling at all, change one of the ones that you don't want onto a kind of defensive one. I would say damage absorber, but go with your own choice. Right, so over to the skills. Now, if you can, whenever you can, try and pop this feed the flames first. If you probably noticed on my footage, every once in a while I was popping it later. That's because I was trying to make sure that I was survivable enough. I didn't know how it was going to go with slightly lower armor. But in all honesty, I've played a couple since then. Popping it first normally works out really well. Play to your own playstyle, but that's what's going to give you the boost to your kind of anomaly power. Then you're going to apply your heat waves and make sure you capture everything in it that you can, especially the enemies. Hit them 3 times, they're going to take 75% extra damage, absolutely beast mode, and they will fall over when you're applying your comets and when you're applying your lightning. It will absolutely tear enemies apart. Of course, just down here, whatever you want take 40% extra damage. So for example, if you want to apply it to a smaller ad because you want to melt it and you want an air effect going off after the bomb explodes, then you can very well do that. Or if you want to apply it to an elite to get the 40 plus the 75 over here, it means that they will be taking an absolute abundance of damage, and of course then you're going to start shooting them to pieces and hopefully exploding them in an air effect again. Now, for the skill tree, just over here, as you can see, we've gone a bit tanky again. That is kind of my playstyle at the moment, especially with this, where we didn't have enough kind of anomaly power to tear things apart. We had to make sure we had a bit of survivability, and then we could spec off and take out the damage absorber from the build. If you want to put it back in, like I said, if you're struggling in any way, just chuck that back on. So we've got health. Just over here we've got a cooldown on our kind of ignite skills, and obviously that means heat waves. Just over here, more health. Up here we've got the armor. Obviously that's going to apply, and it's going to be really good when we get later on in the skill tree. So just over here, more health. Down here, because we want to be able to take out bosses and the elites a little bit easier, we've got increased damage by 20% against enemies below 30% of health. Just up here, and we've got incinerate. The moment burn ends on an enemy, inflict ash status. That can help us, but to be perfectly honest, 90% of the time they are constantly on fire, so we're just using this to get to the top. Just up here, increase your weapon damage by 10% against marked enemies. That doesn't really help us. Our damage is coming from our mods and our heat waves more than anything, and of course our untamed power and our twice as hot. And finally, we managed to get up to here, our hot situation. This is the main reason why we have feed the flames. Basically, slamming that button down means you're going to be getting 45% extra anomaly power for 10 seconds. Almost constantly up, probably will be constant, I would imagine, there or thereabouts, if you've got that cooldown that I'm missing on your armor gear. Just down to the middle again, and as always, I pretty much always go for the resistance because I don't like falling over, meaning that those skill moves just aren't going to hit you as hard. Just up here, a little bit more health. And again, your anomaly power 2.5% for each unlocked one of these health nodes, which we've unlocked all of them, so we're going to get 12.5% extra. Just over here, and we've got increase your skill leech. That basically means that you're going to be getting a lot more health back when you're hitting everything with your heat waves, which you're really going to need because you're going to be doing that constantly. Just over here is the health, and again, more health back. And again, just up here, hands down, just one of my favourite bits in this skill tree. Keeps you alive, really fun, really nice, easy, and pretty much up constantly. And that is activating ignite skills, increases your armor by 45% for 10 seconds. Just over here, double skill leech when under 30% of max health. Kind of your uh-oh moment without knowing it. It means as long as you're kind of got your heat waves out, as long as you're applying your skills to people, even if you go under the 30% of health, as long as you're not sniped in the eye or take a really big hit, you should still be able to regen it because of your health pool being so large and because of how much kind of skill leech you've got going on everywhere. Just up here, and you've got enemies afflicted by burn receive 15% more damage. Of course you want that because everything will constantly be on fire, meaning all of the stuff you've got, especially your big hits from your mods, will be gaining this as well. Just over here, reduce ignite skills cooldown by 15%. Again, we're using that just basically for the heat waves. We want to be able to get those heat waves out as much as possible because then we'll be activating our mods, obviously our untamed power, so try and stay in people's faces as much as possible, and of course you're twice as hot. Also, I would say the only time if you saw me on the boss, I wasn't sure exactly how hard I'd be able to get hit, so if you need to back away from the boss, kind of hit everything to get your anomaly power up and then hit the boss with a lot of your kind of mod moves. That will absolutely melt them and you'll be able to knock them down to probably about half health, give or take, and then go in for the kill, just in case you're worried about your kind of health pool or about your survivability. Finally, last but not least, activating ignite skills increases your armor piercing by 45% and resistance piercing by 45% for 10 seconds. Really nice, it just helps out your heat waves a little bit and it means you're going to hit everything a little bit harder with all of your skill moves. Right, that's my voice completely gone, so hopefully it wasn't too bad when I was speaking then, and hopefully you'll try this out and let me know how you get on. But as you could see, I was able to get through it quite nicely, quite easily, and I wasn't having too much problems. I would imagine you probably could get caught out depending on your playstyle and depending on your luck. Like I said, if you are struggling, chuck one of the mods out, chuck on a bit of defense, and you'll be completely golden. For myself, I find this really fun. I tried a few builds before this, they didn't all work, should we say, but yeah. Low cooldown is definitely the way forward with this because you've got the boots on, and I think middle tree is 100%. Again, I know I've done quite a few of them, but you've got health from your boots and you need a bit of health and survivability, so chuck on middle tree, chuck on this build, let me know how you get on. As always guys and girls, take care, I'll see you all next day.